The Cards head up to South Bend tomorrow night to take on Notre Dame during an ESPN College Game Day. Jack Nolan, the voice of Notre Dame's men's basketball, joins me on the phone to preview the game. Jack, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Hey, doing great. I read earlier where Coach Bray said, this College Game Day came 4 years ago, and he was kind of, guarded a little bit, didn't really let, kind of kept his players shielded from it. I read where he said he's going to embrace the circus. Tell me about that, and what's the atmosphere? What are you expecting it to be like for the game day crew tomorrow?
Well, it's going to be a terrific atmosphere. Of course, Digger lives here, and he's been on campus, even going to the dorms to fire up the students a little more. You got to remember that 4 years ago, Notre Dame also had the longest home court winning streak in the country, 45. We're on the verge of breaking the Big East all-time home court winning streak, and the Big East intentionally scheduled UConn to come in, highly ranked UConn, so that if the Irish did break it, they were going to have to beat one of the best. And, I mean, the winning streak in some ways almost became a burden, as hard as that may be, because it got to the point the last year or so that everybody only talked about the home court winning streak. So that they did probably stress out a little bit about it. The game day crew, they expect a lot. The game doesn't tip off till 9:05, but you're supposed to be on that show at 10 a.m., as are some of your players. But this year, Coach said, you know what, we are going to enjoy the heck out of this. And I know Jaron Grant and Jack Cooley are going to be the show as well. And, it's great publicity for the program. It's the third time that the game day this season will be in the state of Indiana. So I know Kentucky's going to object to this, but it certainly helps cement Indiana's position as one of the preeminent, if not the preeminent, states for college basketball. So, I mean, they've started setting up for game day yesterday. The set's out on the floor right now, and people, of course, are really excited. It's a time, especially for what's known as the Leprechaun Legion, Notre Dame's very strong basketball support group, to shine on a nationwide stage.
Notre Dame, they only had one loss in the pre-conference season to St. Joe's, beat Kentucky. The Big East is always tough to navigate your way through. But where do you rank this game? I mean, it doesn't seem like it would be a must-win, but I mean, it would be nice for them to gain some momentum going down the stretch. On a scale of 1 to 10 from a must-win standpoint, where would you put this game?
Well, because it's the 9th of February, I'd put it at a 6 because you got to play Louisville again. I mean, the issue is Notre Dame's got a good team. They have lost Scott Martin, their sixth-year tri-captain. His knee is acting up, and he was their on-court leader. And so Coach Bray is saying that they are reinventing this program. And since they lost him, they're 3-1. They had a dismal performance against Georgetown. Since that time, they've beaten South Florida on the road, Villanova, DePaul on the road. And I think that the Big East this year, it may not be the best conference in terms of having the most talented teams, but it's the wackiest and most competitive I've ever seen. DePaul has got to be the most talented one-conference win team in the country. So every victory is a big victory, and they've done pretty well. They went up on Monday night against the Syracuse team that I think may be putting one of the best 2-3 zones on the court that Jim Boeheim has ever put on the court because they're long, their guards are 6'6", 6'4". The Irish played a little too quick and didn't make their shots. And Notre Dame also has the toughest end-of-season schedule of anybody in the Big East. So to be honest with you, just about every game is vitally important because they don't have any gimmies left. Maybe DePaul next Wednesday, but that's going to fall into a must-win home game situation. And I'm sure you've been around sports long enough. Must-win games are sometimes the hardest to win of all.
There's a lot of intriguing matchups in this game. First, let's go to the matchup in the post. Gorgui Dieng from Louisville going up against a guy who I think is one of the more underrated players in the country, and Jack Cooley. He's a double-double machine. How pivotal is this matchup on Saturday night?
Well, I think the game's going to come down to the guards, but I do think this is very important, and Jack's judgment's going to be important. I call Jack the Energizer Bear. He has unbelievable energy, averaged 26.5 points and 16 rebounds last week, but the one thing he has to guard against is, Gorgie's 6'11", so he can't just camp down there. He's got to get position, and he may not be able to score as easily as he normally does, so he's going to have to get there, get good position on rebounds, come off screens, pick and roll, but that's going to be very important. Jack's got a rebound. He's the leading rebounder in the Big East in total rebounds, offensive and defensive rebounds. That's going to be key. And they're going to have to make sure that Gorgui doesn't pick up a whole lot of easy buckets around the basket because he's very good. What I'm impressed with in watching tape of Louisville this year is how active Dieng is on defense now. I mean, when you look from the top camera, he doesn't look like he's 6'11", the way he's moving. And so that's going to be important as well.
You mentioned the guards, and I think this could be a matchup of two of the better backcourts in the country with Grant Atkins and Stephen Smith. As a play-by-play guy to get to sit there, you got to be excited to watch these two backcourts go at it.
Oh, absolutely. And I know they also, Russ Smith, sometimes they refer to him as Rusticulous because of the plays he can make. This is a matchup of backcourts, and I do think that Notre Dame's backcourt probably a little underrated. I mean, Eric Atkins should be on the Kuzi list. Siva's on it. He deserves to be. But Atkins is just very solid, and when you look at this Notre Dame team, they have two of the top 6 assist guys in the Big East. They basically have two combo guards, two guys who are equally talented at playing both the point position and the shooting position, and Notre Dame's going to have to take care of the ball. Another key in this game is Louisville's pressure. Notre Dame can't be rattled by it. They can't play too quick. The big zone of Syracuse, they played too quick. They have to be steady. They have to make the extra pass. They have to make the Louisville matchup zone work. But the first thing they have to do is get the ball cleanly up the court. They have to handle the pressure and then get into their stuff. And so that's where it's really going to come down to Notre Dame's guards. Notre Dame only averages 10.4 turnovers a game. They're always among one of the leaders both nationally in the Big East, and they are again this year. They can't turn the ball over against that Louisville pressure, and they can't give Louisville easy buckets off turnovers. That's going to be a huge key.
Before I let you go, I want to throw a quick football question at you.
Sure.
A lot has happened in the program over the last few months, the Alabama game, the whole Manti Te'o mess. But now that's starting to get put in the rearview mirror. Great recruiting class brought in by Coach Kelly. What's the vibe like surrounding the team looking ahead to 2013?
The vibe around this team is the recruits call themselves the Irish Mob. They not only stayed together, but they picked up another great player in Mr. Vanderdoss, who they didn't necessarily think they were going to get. Around here, what's past is past. There's certainly no shame in losing to an Alabama team in the national championship game. The only disappointment is they thought this was such a special year that they were going to take it all the way. But a 12-0 regular season, probably ahead of schedule on what people thought Brian Kelly would do. I have no issue with Brian Kelly looking at the NFL. If that's on your bucket list, you may never be hotter. You at least have to look at it. It was a tough few days, but I think all is forgiven. This team is fired up, and their goal is to be better, and they expect to be better. And everybody's really looking forward to spring practice and getting the guys who have already been on campus out there and getting those 5 early enrollees on the field as well.
Well, Jack, thanks a lot. Great insight, and looking forward to maybe catching up with you down the road. Enjoy the game Saturday night.
Hey, I love talking Irish. Thank you.